Welcome to another edition, another episode, or should I say, of the Big Black Sports Show. Welcome to the Big Black Sports Show. I'm your host, Kevin Barnes. I am the mayor of Chocolate City. I know you are used to seeing me running with the Outlaw Radio gang, doing Outlaw Radio, but tonight we're going to do something a little bit different, which we normally do on Tuesdays. I guess is not different now because this is our second show. So welcome to the Big Black Sports Show.
The Big
And
Black Sports Show.
it's the first day of Black History Month. I'm not alone. I got my co-host with me, Mr. Larry Perdue. What's going on, partner?
Man, doing pretty good. Was enjoying some of this mild winter weather today. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right. And you rarely get this kind of weather in January in Milwaukee. So I hope everybody was able to get out there and enjoy it. What we're going to do tonight is we're going to talk about some sports. We're going to talk about it from a black man's perspective, what some people might refer to as the barbershop style.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about some sports, and we're going to talk about the social aspect of it. And we're going to talk about race relations when it comes to America and how sports forms race relations and what it has to do with it. But I mean, I think it's most important that you don't just know the scores, you know the deal. So that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to talk about the Packers. We're going to talk about the Bucks. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff. It's Super Bowl time, the end of the football season, the end of the NFL season for people like myself who really love football. I hate to see it come to an end, but because this starts kind of like a drought sports season for me. I mean, I know we have basketball because the NBA is forever playing. Like the NBA schedule is ridiculous, right? So I know we have that, but without football, to me on Sundays is just a little bit boring. So, but it's the end. Everything must come to an end. It's the Super Bowl. How did you do on your picks, bro?
I did terrible. None of my picks made it through. This was a crazy year. It was a year of parity for football anyway, but to me, it's kind of shocking. None of the top 10 teams made it. So in a way, I guess that's good for football.
Yeah, you want the parity in football. You do. You don't want the same teams dominating every year. You ain't alone. I bombed on one. I had picked KC to beat Cincinnati, and I was wrong. We were both right about LA beating Tampa Bay, but we both lost big when it comes to Cincinnati. Cincinnati went in there and pulled off an upset, man. I don't think anybody's seen that coming, especially with the way Patrick Mahomes had played prior to that game that game that he had against Buffalo. So people thought it would be a continuation of that, but the NFL, they have a saying in the NFL, and that is they own scholarship too. So any given Sunday, anybody can lose.
It's 4 quarters. You got to play 4 quarters.
Yeah.
And that's his problem.
And you know what? I think most people don't understand the game of football, so we can take some time here tonight and kind of talk about the science, because I think that there's a science in football, and people don't understand it's very hard to win football games, first of all. I don't care what level you on, pee-wee, whatever. It's hard to win football games. And so we watched the NFL this weekend, and I had made a statement about the front 7 of Los Angeles.
Right.
And I felt like that the Buccaneers would have a hard time blocking them, and they did. For all we know, that's the reason why Tom said I'm done, because even though he almost came back.
Hey, we went on what is he making, about 20 mil a year? 20 to 30 million?
I'm sure he was making a little bit more than that.
Hey, that money, it has a strong influence. I'm surprised he didn't come back, actually.
I'm not. I mean, I wanted to talk about that a little bit tonight, because I've been watching Bruce Arians, who's the coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I got some observations that I made about Bruce Arians. I'm gonna talk about him a little bit later. I don't think this situation was something that Tom was in love with, or I think he would have stayed. So we're gonna get into all of that, because what makes you say, okay, I mean, 6 Super Bowls, 7 Super Bowls? Is it 7?
7
Super Bowls, right? Every record
with 10 appearances,
right? And every record that you could possibly name. And maybe he got to the point, because I guess I don't have this problem, and I don't know anybody who does, but apparently you can get too much money. I guess you can get to the point where you say, I got enough money, right? Like
Right, right.
not my problem, but it tends to happen. But
Yeah.
before we even go off into that tank, I hope I know, as a matter of fact, just knowing you, I know you were prepared for this. This is the first day of Black History Month.
Yep.
So when we talk about sports, we cannot talk about Black history without talking about Black athletes, and you can't talk about sports without talking about Black athletes, because Black people have revolutionized everything we touch in this country. But sports has been kind of like the one that has always gotten us over, right? Like,
Yes.
so even if you go all the way back to the times when Black people were discriminated against the most, we were allowed to play sports to some degree, or at least they were willing to come and sit and watch us engage in sports. And they say the Olympics is an ancient kind of event that, and what did it involve, right? Like, look at the sports that it involved, right? Like, it's a
Right.
super square ass, who 800 meters, like, who want to see you race for 2 miles, like, right? Like,
isn't badminton an Olympic sport?
I believe badminton is, but don't quote me. It's tennis, it's golf, it's the steeplechase, it's all these kinds of, it's all these different sports. Of course, sports that are not necessarily seen as global, like American football is not there. Basketball is.
Right.
But I talk about Black and sports. Like, no other race has affected sports. And even right now, if you look at soccer, which is not the sport of North America, but those in Africa, it's huge. In the Caribbean, it's huge. In places where there are people of color. And usually there's some dominant, don't get me wrong, there's some great Englishmen, some great Eastern Europeans, but Blacks, when you got an African or you got Black people, we just change every sport. And some of the greatest athletes, and even though they try and, throw us for a loop with talking about who the greatest athletes was, Babe Ruth and Larry Bird, and, all these great white hopes that they throw at you. We know that the greatest athletes in the majority of sports, and when I say great, I mean a game changer, somebody who comes along and changes the way the game is played,
Right.
the way you have to play the game as a team. It's all Black athletes, right? So
Right.
we're going to talk about who we feel like the greatest Black athletes have been throughout history. And I'm not putting a time limit on it. If you are familiar with an athlete from 1920, 1930, some people might say Jack Johnson, Jack Johnson was a hell of a boxer. You might want to say somebody like that. But keep in mind, I want to consider athletes that had a social impact, athletes who did things in their communities, athletes who didn't worry about what the powers that be and the masses said. They did what they knew to be right. So I'm talking about a Jim Brown. I'm talking about an Ali.
Right.
I'm talking about Craig Hodges. Mahmoud Al-Rauf, who used to play for the Nuggets. I hope I'm saying his name right. People don't give him enough credit for what he done in terms of, he was actually the first Colin Kaepernick. He was actually put in the owner's house, in the NBA owner's doghouse by kneeling at courtside and not standing for the national anthem. So when we talk about Black History Month, we damn sure got to talk about Black athletes. And it's really all about how we're perceived in this country. Typically they think, an athlete is more brawn over brains. But I think we've had some great athletes who've come along and showed that it's very much a cerebral thing. Because like I said, Jim Brown, who I love Jim Brown, like, as far as my dad, who really taught me football and showed me what the game was about, Jim Brown, to him, and he grew up during that era, that to him, Jim Brown was the greatest Black man to ever play sports.
Yes.
And Jim did a lot of things. Yeah. And
he was a fullback, I might add.
Right. He also played lacrosse, but yeah. Okay. But yeah, man. Jim Brown disappointed me when the whole Trump thing came around. I give Jim Brown some excuses and say I think Jim's a little long in the tooth. Yeah. So I think Jim Brown was thinking one thing. Because I think Trump zigged, and when he told him he was gonna zag, And
Uh-huh.
Jim Brown wasn't the only one. He wasn't the only, athlete that we had who went and fell for the okie doke with President Trump. But I think Jim Brown, Bill Russell, and right now the way things are looking, Colin Kaepernick, and I still got a gripe with the NFL because of Colin. We're gonna talk about that
Right.
too as we move forward. But yeah, I gotta say, to me, the athlete, because Deion Sanders to me changed the game, because Deion Sanders redefined being told what to do. Deion Sanders kind of made it so it's like, no, I'll do what I want to do because I'm the one with the talent. So, and just with the two sports and that kind of thing, and he made it a business. Like he said, y'all want it to be a business. It's about the money. Okay, about the money then. And so, of course, they tried to turn that around. But I got to say, I don't know if any other athlete made as big a social impact as Muhammad Ali. Because I think Jim Brown made one. I think Bill Russell made one. I think Kareem was making one. Especially people don't know about why Kareem actually left Milwaukee. It had a lot to do with his religion and his affiliation with the Muslims and what happened in Philadelphia to a house he had purchased. A lot of people don't know about that. So, you got to give it some thought, because there's so many great black athletes who have contributed. Because you got LeBron, for all LeBron's hoop skills, LeBron has contributed greatly to the black community. He didn't put so many kids in school, things like that. So when you start thinking about great black athletes, who are you thinking of?
Oh, it's so many that comes to mind, and I can think of some from modern day to historical guys. One guy that I admire a lot, and it's a basketball player, and it's George Gervin. The Iceman. That was my guy when I was younger. I used to love watching basketball. And if I could catch a Spurs game, especially a Bucks versus Spurs game, I had to watch George Gervin, man, because he was so smooth. And the player today that reminds me of him is kind of like KD. It's just that KD doesn't go to the cup as much as he did. But guys like George Gervin, basketball, because I was a basketball fan before I was a football fan.
Okay.
So a lot of basketball players come to mind for me. Kareem. I was in love with reading about Kareem and watching old film of Kareem, in school.
Right.
Marcus Johnson, one of my favorite Bucks. Guys like that. Magic Johnson, growing up watching Magic Johnson play.
Okay.
Guys like that.
Well, I think, and once again, I have to always give my mom so much credit, because she kept me informed on things that happened before, I was big enough. So growing up, if there was an athlete who had played in the 60s or the 70s, and I wasn't big enough to remember, she would let me know what their social impact was. Right. So if it was ever an athlete and they weren't about the community, my mom would, well, yeah, he wasn't shit. All he wanted to do is get white women and ride in his limo, and it was that kind of thing for mom. So she always kept me up on the social aspect of everything. So that's why a lot of times I can identify certain athletes for their stance. I'm looking in the chat room. Shout out to Jesse Parrish. He said they got the Bengals versus the Rams in the Super Bowl. Yeah, I know he's a West Coast dude. It's got to be. I mean, the Bengals represent for the Midwest, but that whole Ram thing, they kind of bought them a trip to the Super Bowl. But we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Quickly put that team together.
Yeah, that's a $1 billion team. Somebody gonna have a big ass check to write after the season over. They're gonna definitely be. They talking about the Packers in the cap. They're gonna be Shout out to Tiarsha Arthur. She's Tiarsha Arthur. She said her cousin said even though he kneeled, that we act like he was a good player and he wasn't. I don't know if we're talking about Colin Kaepernick. I would hope nobody ever says Colin Kaepernick was not a good player, because he led the 49ers to a Super Bowl. As a matter of fact, he came to Green Bay one time and rushed for damn near 200 yards on him. Yeah. So Colin was pretty nice. What happened was he took a beating, got beat down messing with the 49ers, and he was trying to fight his way back, and that's when the whole kneeling thing happened, which shouldn't absolutely positively be the end of a career. I mean, come on, man. Like, it's cats in the NFL who do way worse once again, we'll get to that as we move along tonight. Yes, the Rams went out and got Von Miller. I kind of felt a certain way when they went and got Von Miller. I'm not going to even lie. I thought that was unfair. Put him on the line with Aaron Donald. I did, because Aaron Donald is the best defensive lineman to come along in some years. Like, I mean, he's a generational player, what they would define as a generational player. But so is Von Miller. So to put them together, I was like, really? And they already had the other boy Floyd, who's a pretty good pass rusher too, a linebacker. So yeah, man. But back to Black History, man. The athletes now, like Serena, we talk about Serena and Venus, right? And we talk about them being Black athletes who got involved in what would be traditionally a white sport. I ain't gonna lie, I was rocking with Serena forever. I think we all were. But and I never try to judge anybody based on, who or what they do in their own personal life. But
I just find it kind of funny that they both came out together, but they both had their prime at different times. Where Venus was killing it when she first came out, whereas Serena was struggling. And then once Venus started getting hurt, it's like Serena just picked her game up and just exploded, just went off.
Yeah, I you know what? I'm not even speaking on that. I was looking at it more like it's incredible that both of these sisters come up in Compton with a Black man, and neither one of them. I mean, I guess Serena. I'm going off the board here because I'm in this girl's personal business and whatever. But she ended up marrying a white dude. Like, so, I felt like when white people really were giving Serena the business about, she looks like an ape and she looks like a man, and they didn't, they just kind of disrespected her. We as a people were defending her and coming to her, hey, nah, man, she's that's a thick sister. She's straight, she fine. I felt like we as Black people had her back. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, no, you ain't good enough for me, Black man. So she marries a white man. Now people out there, you didn't tell her who to marry. And I know. But since we're talking about our opinions on these athletes and things like that, I can say it. I just kind of felt a certain kind of way. I feel that way when anytime there's a Black celebrity or public figure and we support that individual, whether it be music, movies, whatever it is, and they come to us for everything. When I say come to us, like all their products are advertised and marketed towards us, and we support them, watch, buy the pay-per-views, and then all of a sudden when it's time to make a life decision, the decision that you make shows us that Black ain't good enough for you. That's the way I take it. And I may be wrong, but it is what it is. So I don't know. I ain't gonna lie. I stopped cheering for Serena a little bit because Venus never dated it. Like, I think just recently she was like talking to, like, standing next to a Black dude and somebody hurried up and took a picture. And then she was like, nah, I'm a virgin. I'm 41. Ain't nobody never touched me.
Right. That was shocking to hear.
Yeah. But I mean, the fact that neither one of them, like, and then I've had brothers say, well, Kev, you don't know. It might just be who she's around or where she's at or her. I know she tried to date all the rappers, all the TV actor dudes. And we know them dudes don't want no girlfriend. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah. Drake ain't gonna commit to you, that kind of thing that so I felt a certain kind of way about that. I don't know. That's just me. What you think about Venus and Serena with their anti-African American selves? Well, anti-African American, right?
I mean, I can't judge her if she fall in love with, who she chooses to fall in love with. But you do have a point there. You do have a point there. Yeah, you're right. When she was attacked, we came out and we had her back, and for a lot of our sisters, that would seem like, hey, you especially our men, but a lot of our sisters would feel the same, like, hey, you turned your back on us, Right. So, yeah, to me, it's kind of a double-edged sword,
Brothers get the business all the time for marrying white women when they get successful. We know that. Sisters come down hard on brothers, like, yeah, and it ain't none of our business, to tell you the truth, because it ain't my business to talk shit about Serena, but I am. Tiarsha said her Serena's husband isn't white. He's not. Explain to me his cultural makeup. I mean, whatever. I look white.
From the Middle East?
Nah, he's white. He's from America. He's one of the founders of the Reddit website. I don't know if people are familiar with Reddit, but he's one of the founders. So he was rich. And I heard a lot of sisters saying, he was rich. It don't matter. Well, I mean, if that's where we at, if it's about money, then it's okay. Well, that's fine. I understand it from that perspective. She said, but remember all the black guys she did, they dumped her. Well, first of all, we don't know if they dumped her. We don't know what happened. We don't know what happened. So that's why it's okay for you to make some kind of outlandish statement or take some kind of crazy stance like I did, because I don't know her. So I can say anything like, yeah, I heard she's crazy. She pee in the bed. Like, I don't know. I don't know her. Right. So I could say anything and it wouldn't matter. But shout out to Serena, Venus and Serena, man. But they've done a lot. They've done a lot in terms of contributing to the community. They give a lot of money back. They got a lot of programs, I guess, in South Central Los Angeles to help youngsters and try to get them into the game of tennis. So I talk shit about them, but, you know, at least socially, because a lot of those athletes, man, a lot of pro athletes, you know, you be, man, that's my man. You watch him. That's, oh, girl, yeah. And then when he showed up with his wife, it's like, you can't tell somebody who, right? Like, you can't tell a person, you know, who to fall in love with. But it's a coincidence that you brothers, when y'all broke, who y'all with versus who you get with when you got a little paper. I ain't call nobody name. But anyways, back to Black History, man. I think it's important when an athlete get some fame that they do become a part of their community that represents positivity. And you know, Charles Barkley says, well, I'm not a role model. Well, you know, you might not have chosen it, but you are. And if you make mistakes, you make mistakes. I'm not saying, you know, but you are a role model. I mean, just us as free black men in a community, walking around that raise our families, we're role models.
Yes.
You know, whether people admit it or not. I mean, if you can walk up to a youngster and tell them, hey, here's my story, here's how I got it done, you could do the same thing. And it leads to something positive, then that individual say, oh, that dude was a hero. So she said it in her Ebony magazine interview, and Common said the same thing. He wasn't ready to give it. That's fine. You know what? Whatever. Like I said, whatever Serena's reason was, whatever any other athlete, any other actor, because a lot of my favorite actors who are brothers, and you see him, oh damn, he ain't right. You know what I mean? Like, so,
right.
You know, that's America in 2021. That is what it is. Anytime you see an interracial couple, you say, what's going on there? You know, so it's that. But black men, we can't win because they say when we broke, what we do? Go get a white girl with some money. When we rich, what we do? Go get a white girl. Can't win, right?
Damn if you don't, huh?
It's one of the things where, like, if I'm walking down the street through the hood and I'm swole, somebody say, oh, you must have been locked up. If I done lost weight, they'll say, damn, he's sick. Like, you can't really please people.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Well, oh, man, I didn't care, man. I already got that package. You know, they'll be saying whatever about you. So I'm gonna do the same thing about athletes. Hell, they got all the money. They don't, and none of them know who the hell I am. So if you get back to him, I ain't scared of your big 6'10" ass, right? I'm not
right.
Right.
As they look down on me.
I mean, I met a couple Milwaukee Bucks. One time I was in a club and I was way past lifted. And I seen Glenn Robinson, and I was the Bucks had just lost the playoff series. It was in the Matrix. I don't know if you remember the old Matrix.
I remember the Matrix.
And I walked up to him and I said, "Man, your jumper was dead during this series, bro. Are you gonna play any defense?" And he looked at me like, "What?" My brother just kind of grabbed me like, "Come on, man, you know, like he like, man, you don't know who he got with him." And it's a true story. One time downtown, I was in the club and I seen Latrell Sprewell, and I walked up to him. I said, "Damn, man, why you choked the white boy?" And he was like, "What?" Once again, my brother grabbed me like, "Come on, man, let's go over here, man." So,
shout out to Sprewell.
Right. The big dog in Sprewell is who I met.
Yeah.
Let's see. She said, "When I marry a white billionaire, make sure you interview me." I will, Tiarsha. I will. And I'll be like, see, when she wasn't with the billionaire, she was listening to Outlaw Radio and the Big Black Sports Show. Now she listening to Howard, what's his name? The crazy
Stern.
Yeah, Howard Stern, the crazy white Jewish dude, the crazy dude. Like, yeah. You listen to some high class, or you back to the Breakfast Club when you get some money, right? Like hot bottles with fireworks on them and shit, I guess. But yeah, man, happy Black History Month. A lot of people look at Black history, and some people say they don't like we shouldn't have 1 month, or
Right.
Is anytime it's a chance for us to acknowledge and celebrate us. I'm with it. I'm with it. Like it
I
could be
agree.
you call it whatever you want. I'm with the shit. Like it's black people. Hell yeah.
Yep, I
So
agree.
yeah. So like I said, we got to think about all of the black athletes and make sure, because a lot of the standard procedures in sports now, like dunking a basketball or like a finger roll or
Right.
crossover dribble and stuff like that, a juke move in football, all that stuff that black athletes brought to the game.
Black
So
athletes.
yeah,
You know, as we continue to talk about this, and names are popping up in my head, and you know, I'm thinking of guys like Gail Sayers. You know, I'm thinking of guys like Will Chamberlain. Thinking of Bill Russell. I'm thinking of Spencer Haywood.
yeah,
It's a lot of black athletes that don't get their due credit.
right.
You know, and I guess this is the show that we need to we need to prop up those brothers and make sure that people remember those guys that came before the greats of today. Because we had a lot of good ballers back in the the 40s and the 50s and the 60s.
Oh yeah, and normally when they let one in, we shine so bright that they had to open the door for the rest of them to come in. I'm looking at now. I seen Barry Bonds, who they're doing the voting for the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, and Barry didn't get in. And I guess in baseball, you only can be nominated for so many years. So I guess this was his last opportunity to get in the Baseball Hall of Fame, and he didn't get in because of the steroids. Because of the steroid accusations. And so when it comes to pro sports, right? And we talk about, like I'm referencing now that we've had a lot of black athletes who probably won't get in the Hall of Fame, but were great athletes, great representatives, whether maybe their career wasn't long enough or maybe they weren't on a winning team, whatever the case might be. Football is usually pretty good by giving you your credit, no matter if you was on some scrub teams or whatever. But when it comes to the Hall of Fame, I've always thought it was stupid that the voters for these Hall of Fame candidates or whatever are always like sports writers. They're always like cats who never even played the game, right? Like, how are you allowed to vote on whether or not somebody's immortalized in the Hall of Fame and you never played? I've always thought that was stupid. We got a caller. Ewalk the Great. What's popping with you, bro?
Tank, my man's Larry Purdue, Ernest Walker, 1991 alumni, man.
Oh Lord, we doing this Marshall thing.
What's going on, baby? Hey, no, I just called in, man. I know y'all was in the middle of talking about the Hall of Fame. I'm on this. Kev know how I do, man. I need to figure out where to get your book at, man. How to get it. Kev will let me know. I'm pretty sure I got his number. I done bought some Witch Doctor dust. I done bought some hoodies. You know what I'm saying? I support the show, man. I make it do what it do to the best of my ability.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Ewok for sure.
Yeah, so I'm definitely gonna get your book and read it, man. You know what I'm saying?
Man, appreciate it.
How y'all brothers doing though, man? What's going on? What's the conversation about tonight?
Man, it's sports, and it's Black History Month. It's the first day of Black History Month. So what we're actually doing is I was giving it up for black athletes and just talking about the greatness that black people bring to sports and professional sports. So I had talked about football and basketball. We talked about some of the greater athletes who've made social impact, like Muhammad Ali and Bill Russell and Jim Brown. I want to move into boxing because we did talk about Muhammad Ali, but I want to talk about boxing because boxing is one of the sports where we were actually let in early. And I'm not saying that racism doesn't exist and it hasn't existed. But boxing is one of the sports where we were allowed to go into early. So that's why you have, the Brown Bomber, you have, Sugar Ray Robinson, you have so many great fighters from back in those, and I can't even name them all.
They moved the game post with Jack Johnson, though. He was whooping everybody. The heavyweight champ was meant to be white. They had to get rid of him.
Yeah. And
he
then
was walking around with white women back in 1918.
And the white woman he got in trouble with was from Milwaukee, right? Y'all know that, right?
No, I never knew that one.
Yeah, he came to Milwaukee and met her and hit it with her. Yeah.
Milwaukee women.
He should have stayed his ass out of the mill.
All right. I told your ass to stay out of Milwaukee, right? He was on the north side fucking with them gangsters. But nah, man. So yeah, you're right. And there was like an invisible ban for black men after what Jack Johnson did for a long time. Just like the NFL had a period where they were, very segregated because they didn't want black athletes. Because look what we do. We show up and it's like all of a sudden, I mean, Major League Baseball, everything that happens before Jackie Robinson needs an asterisk because it was before black men were allowed to get on the field. And you had a whole separate league of cats who showed you that they could play professional baseball, the Negro Baseball League. And a lot of those players were better than white American baseball. So, the race thing. But what happened when Jackie got in? What black men do? We come in.
So if you was in any school, you know what I'm saying? They're gonna come after you, man. They talking about you teaching critical race theory over your damn radio show and shit. You get in trouble behind that. They think you making white people feel bad. Where your boy at that he calling in with his nonsense talk? I want to hear what he got to say about critical race theory, by the way.
Oh, we done. You know what? It's funny that you said that. Orlando, I got to get in touch with Orlando. I haven't spoken with him in a minute, but Orlando's listening. I'm pretty sure because Orlando supports the People's Network. So we doing Outlaw Radio, or I don't know if he knows that we've started doing the Big Black Sports Show, but Orlando will probably be calling in.
Not Orlando, the white cat that used to always be on there. He used to be he used to call you to troll you. I forget his
you talking about Scott Epicet? Oh man,
yeah, that cat right there, the super troll.
Super troll. Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Explanation of critical race theory is. Hey, you know what? I didn't talk too long, man. Let me let you get back to your sports show, man. I just had to bring up that cat though because I know he used to always come on saying some old troll shit. But I'm gonna let y'all get back to what it do.
Peace and love, Ewok.
All right, Ewok.
Nah, you know what? But Scott Epicet was a super troll of the show. He did used to troll the show, and he used to troll my group, the People's News Network. And I ended up having to just kind of get rid of him and put him out the group because it just got, I'm talking to my people, man. When I'm talking to my people, man, shut up. Like, you know what I mean? So, But yeah, shout out to Scott, though. Shout out to Scott. Scott is crazy white boy, man. So, yeah, we were talking about black history, talking about great black athletes. I was talking about boxing. And I was, looking at some of the great, like you look at Mike Tyson, you look at Floyd Mayweather, you look at how much money brothers have been like Mayweather, $100 million a fight at one point. Like Mayweather got so much money, he just ignorant. Right. Money made Mayweather just ignorant. Like he just like, oh, I bet $9 million on two ants crawling up the sidewalk racing. Like, dude, what the hell is wrong with you? I don't know what is, his philanthropy or what his philanthropic efforts are. But, man, I mean, stuff like that, crazy. Man. Right. So, sports has been, like I stated before, sports has been a way for people of color. It's kind of like it looks like it's a bridge sometimes, and it is if you utilize it the right way. Right. Because a lot of people think, well, I'll go pro and I'll make millions and my problems are solved. Well, that doesn't necessarily create the generational wealth that black people need. Going pro, getting some money, and then figuring out how to manage it so that it can work for you and your family is the key to it ain't really, I made $1 million, I just spent $5 million. Not, you know what I mean? Like, so that's another thing. We have to start looking at sports for what it is. And the reality is there's a season. It's athletic, what I call an athletic season. If you're a young man, because I can remember being a young football player and I felt like, I could run through a brick wall if I needed to, and it wouldn't hurt me, right? And now I watch a game, and I'm like, "Ooh, that shit looked like it hurt." Right. Because right.
Yeah, I saw some hits Sunday that I was like, "Whoa."
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll be able to get back in after that one.
Yeah, some piles that I'm saying, man, I used to be at the bottom of them. Like, yeah, okay. So yeah, but I mean, it's a season, and it's for young men. But your brain, when you're young in years, your brain is still immature. Right. When you get older in years, that's when your brain matured. You just don't got the legs no more, right? Like they say, young people got the energy, but the old people got the map. So, so it's about making sure you develop as an individual. You get when you invest your money wisely, and we know there's a tragic reality of CTE, which is the brain that boxers and football players suffer from. So, those are the things you have to be aware of, man. If when you aspire to be an athlete. So, a shout out to all of the great Black athletes, man. We appreciate your contribution. We ask that you continue to keep, providing what little bit you do. I know it's a Band-Aid on a bullet wound, especially in Milwaukee. I'd like to see a few more, because it's some athletes here. I'd like to see a few more of them, give it up and help a little bit more, but I can't tell you what to do with your money or your time. But it's going to take us to fix us. That's all I would say. So as long as we aspire to work for somebody, then we're going to be workers. When we aspire to own and control things, right?
Right.
Then and this is what makes it so hard for me as a football fan to cheer for the NFL, because I'm fully aware. I don't get lost in the lights and the fact that you got Dre and Snoop and all these people coming in to do the halftime show. Like, I'm not, that kind of shit don't excite me. I know it's like, whoa, but because you got a bunch of 50-year-old rappers doing that. But I mean, it's Snoop, it's Dre, it's something we never thought we'd see. You never thought you'd see Snoop and Dre on. Snoop still might not be able to, he might not make it, because they asked Snoop's ass about some of the stuff he's said and done. But Cube, I mean, we talking about Ice Cube. So, but I'm the racism in the NFL. Brian Flores right now, who is the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, who gave him their first 2 back-to-back winning seasons since I think 2013 or 2000. It's been a while. And he was fired after the season. And now he's actually had interviewed for the Giants, and he had interviewed for the Bills, and I believe the Denver Broncos. And he should have been a front runner, of course. But obviously he wasn't hired. So I think maybe he was, Bill Belichick heard, Brian would be the man for the New York job, and he thought they were talking about Flores. So he sent Flores a text like, yeah, congratulations. Flores like, nah, I think you got the wrong dude.
Wow.
So he's basically suing the Giants and some other teams for racism in their hiring process. We know that the NFL has what they call the Rooney Rule,
right,
which is that says every team, when they have a vacancy, they have to interview a minority candidate. But we know that brothers are interviewing, they're not getting jobs. So you got some young black coaches, Eric Bieniemy.
Yes.
You got Raheem Morris. You got all these. You got a lot of young black coaches who are not getting opportunities, and they say, yeah, we get it. We get interviewed, but we never get the job. And more often than not, a coach is hired, a white coach is hired that has a fraction of the experience that, the black candidate has. So it's the fact that Colin hasn't gotten a job, and we support what they did. I feel like every time I watch a game, I'm supporting what they did to Colin. And what they did to Colin Kaepernick was inexcusable. It's unacceptable. And I reduced a lot of my NFL consumption. I'm gonna be honest. I reduced a lot of it after the Colin Kaepernick thing, because I normally, I would watch every game. I get the NFL ticket, all this kind of stuff. I stopped. I got to the point where I was only watching Packer games because, that's just something me and Pops did from the age of 8, like I said. So I'm gonna watch a Packer game. I don't give a damn what nobody say, right?
when you think about football,
right,
professional football, and you think about all of the transgressions against black athletes throughout the history of it, it is a little, it's a little disheartening, man. It's for me, like I said, I always say, it's a guilty pleasure, because I mean, we talk about the black head football coaches, but I mean, look how long it took for the establishment in football to allow black athletes to become quarterbacks. You know what I'm saying? Things like that, things that are humiliating to us, to tell us that we don't have the intelligence to run an offensive team. Things like that is, and also we also spoke on the CET situation, and I think I guess I shouldn't talk about this because I'm not completely well versed on it yet, but the situation with the CET, the head trauma, where the black players were more likely to suffer from a head trauma. So therefore, we were always meant to be on the lower pay scale. Like I said, I have to become more well versed on that. But for some reason they felt that our brains reacted differently to CTE.
Okay. So you saying that there was a study somewhere that may have suggested that black players, our brains were resistant. We didn't need as much protection, or what?
It's see, and that's where I'm not exactly clear at right now. But
Okay.
yeah, and it has something to do with their pensions.
Yeah, well, you have to play 3 years in the NFL to get a pension, and I know that, and I would never doubt a racial connotation to this, but I think that all NFL players who suffer from those injuries, white as well, in the NFL, don't get me wrong, they're super racist, but their track record with how they have treated veterans. It's black and white. Like they basically was like, screw all y'all old asses. Like it was to the point where you had like a Hall of Famer like Mike Webster, who played for the Pittsburgh Steelers on those great 70s teams. And he basically lived the last portion of his life as like a vegetable on a couch. And his family, his wife and his daughters talked about how for years they would go to the NFL for help, and the NFL just was denying them. So I don't know if it was a black thing, or if that study that you're talking about, I don't know what kind of validity it ever came with.
If anybody out there has any idea of what I'm talking about, chime on in. I'll get some more information on it. But yeah, man, this information just surfaced last year, where something in regards to CET, the head trauma, and how the NFL paid ex-black players pensions according to that.
I would have to look into it. CTE is crazy because you can't detect it until they're dead. So like a lot of, and it's really just like, you look at a great player like Junior Seau, who basically started acting out of his character, and like people just like, what's wrong? Like, and that's usually what happens, and then they die. But the CTE. But some people would ask the question, because I know Chris Carter was asked the question. Knowing what you know about CTE and that kind of thing, would you still take the risk and play? And he said, absolutely. Right. Because what's the trade-off, right? Like, so if I don't play, and for some of these individuals, for whatever reason, football or athletics, basketball, whatever it is, it's their only, or what they would see as their only way out. Like, this is all I got. This is my only option. And so when somebody's faced with that, then, you got to respect their decision. I mean, if somebody asked me that, I would say, I would have to agree with Chris. I would have to say, like, well, what's the alternative? I had some of the greatest times in my life playing football. So, and it brought me a lot of things that I probably wouldn't have come in contact with had I not played. So, and I'm sure any boxer and cats, hoopers who old and their knees is bad and their back is bad, and it's like, nah, I don't regret none of it. I wouldn't take none of it back. But yeah. But that CT is a monster. I like to get more information on what you was talking about, though. I see Earl Henning in the chat room. He said NFL is a plantation playing sports. Just another way not to pay black players what they're worth. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'd like to see if there's a correlation between some sort of pension distribution and CTE for black players. I'm gonna definitely look that up.
Right.
If you find it, drop that in the People's News Network. If you find it, if you out there listening, share the show, man, in whatever group is the Big Black Sports Show on a Tuesday night. It's your man, Mayor of Chocolate City, the mouthpiece of the movement, aka the Negro Whisperer, Kevin Barnes. I'm in the house with my partner, Mr. Perdue.
Coach Tank.
Right. Coach, author, right, motivational speaker.
Yes, sir.
Right. Yeah,
Running
man.
back whisperer.
Yeah. Oh, the running back whisperer. Okay. I don't mind if you take my shit right on the air, right in front of me. It ain't no big deal. I ain't gonna wait till we get off the air. I'm gonna take the shit right here.
We brought that.
Right.
In front of you real quick.
Martin said, "Are you jotting? I see you over there jotting, right?" Nah, man. But we like to talk sports, so I like to get it off. And so many times, I didn't get to do Outlaw Radio last night. It's just a programming kind of twitch on me. I'm just working with stuff, upgrading stuff, trying out new equipment, stuff coming, going. And so I know Kamar's on the move with Meatless Mondays, and Courtney is on the move. I should have just went solo dolo, and I didn't. I just because I had my energy built up to share the microphone, because I'll stay on here by myself. Like I literally sit here for 2 hours talking to myself if I had to. But I just didn't do it last night. So tomorrow we got Outlaw Radio. Hella Hawaii, as they say. Hella high water. It's going down tomorrow if I got to do the shit solo. So tune in. Shout out to Kamar. I know he'll be with me, and probably Courtney too, and whoever else that I talk to, because I got some people on the jack that I'm supposed to be bringing in. But yeah, man, it's Super Bowl, man. I'm still that grumpy old ass dude in the corner, mad at the NFL for the fact that you got one black head coach. There's no way that black athletes play this game at this level and can't coach it or teach it. Now, don't get me wrong. Just because you're a good player don't mean you'll be a good coach. I learned that from being a coach. Just because you was good don't mean you're going to be a good coach. Some of the best players suck ass as coaches because they don't have the ability to teach. And all a coach is a teacher, right? Yeah. So, but yeah, so I get the whole conflict of football, and I get even sports, period, because people just, but I get it all. I get it all. So this NFL thing gonna happen. I ain't gonna lie. I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch the Super Bowl. Yeah. I'm picking the Rams right now, just because I think Cincinnati is gonna have such a hard time blocking LA. Just because the Titans sacked him 9 times. Buffalo sacked him a bunch of times. I'm talking about Joe Burrow. I think Aaron Donald and your man, they're gonna have a field day on it. I really do. I think they're gonna have a field day on it.
I mean, KC blew that game. To me, they blew that game. The first half, to me, it seemed like they had control, and in the second half, it seemed like they tried to do too much.
Okay.
And you can easily lose a game by just trying to do too much. Trying to get the ball to too many different players. Too many guys complaining. If we're winning 21-3 or whatever, we're up a touchdown or two. Don't complain about asking for the ball. You had guys on the sideline, and I'm speaking of that spat that Tyreek Hill and McCall Hardiman had on the sideline. Hey,
I didn't see that. I didn't see that one.
Yeah, there was a spat that those guys had on the sideline arguing about who's open.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, dude, just go with the flow of the game. It's only one football out there, shit.
Right, right.
But there were so many things that, pretty much determined the outcome of that game, man. But yeah, man, I was really surprised to see KC go out like that too.
Know what? I'm never, like I said, any given Sunday. I mean, you got to remember, like, people see a game and say, I can't believe that. And then you got to remember, they're all professionals. So,
True.
Both teams got the best of the best of the best on their team. So, like, any team could win at any time. That's the one unique thing about football over other sports, is because, like with basketball, your odds of winning, like if you just going against, you take a team of just NBA all-stars and you just put them against some little short dudes who can't dribble that good or can't shoot, and they just can't play with them. It's not even close. But you take a group of misfit football dudes, and each one of them might be able to do something unique to football. Like, he ain't fast, he can't run, he ain't real, he can't jump, but damn, he can block, right? He's fast, right? But he ain't gonna run nobody over, but you got somebody to block for him. So it starts, and now when they start playing as a team, then they end up beating the dudes who individual. Like, I'm a great athlete. Yeah, but y'all didn't play as a team. So, in
regards to the Cincinnati KC game, but one of the most important matchups to me out of any football game is the quarterback position. And I'm looking at Joe Burrow versus Patrick Mahomes. And I'm like, okay, Super Bowl MVP. He's got one under his belt already. And I'm talking about Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
And I'm looking at Joe Burrow, and I'm like, you're the future, but not, you're the future. I can't see you winning the Super Bowl with this team. And
I don't know why you couldn't see him. That team is young. That team is fast. Jamar Chase is the absolute truth. I don't know if
But
like
I
you know.
guess
So
it's
if
the
you
experience. It's the experience that I was more so leaning on. KC has more experience.
and don't you know. Once again, you got you got generational players. Jamar Chase is a generational player. Minus injury, that young boy is probably the best thing you done seen at receiver. And it's some dudes in it. And we talking about the NFL. Like, so you talking about that you can't name he broke almost every broke Justin Jefferson's record. And Justin Jefferson, like I said, look at all the young receivers that have come in over the last. None of them have done what Jamar Chase done this year.
He's special. He's special.
That's what I'm saying. So when you got him, Burrow is a gutsy quarterback. He's a quarterback who got that quarterback swagger, right? We knew that from LSU. Now you got a young defense too that can fly around and hit people. They ain't young when they're a little tight on the back end, but up front they got some young, fast, tough, athletic dudes. Anytime you got a team like that, you got a chance to win. You got a chance to win anything. I don't care. I mean, if they play together like them young boys playing. So that experience for KC, that experience for KC didn't matter in the end.
Well, they had a slow start, but they pulled it out. I got to give it to them. You know, they pulled it out. You know,
yeah, man.
NFC.
I mean, yeah. Well, you know, so then we look at the other game, which was the Rams against the Buccaneers, and like I said, I thought
49ers.
Well, you're right. I'm sorry. Rams and 49ers. It was the Rams and the 49ers. And
I want to give Buccaneer fans any kind of hope.
Well, right. Yeah, that's true. You're right. That was the week before. I'm sorry.
Yeah, fucking
yeah, but I mean, even with that game, that was a battle. With the 49ers. The 49ers is a damn good team. Like people like I kept telling people before the Packer game. I kept saying the 49ers are too physical for the Packers. Yeah. It's a bad matchup for them.
Yeah, the defense been bailing them out all year. The 49ers?
Yeah.
The defense been bailing them out all year.
So that was a good game, but I think the Rams ultimately that checkbook, you know, because you throwing the Beckham. Like Beckham, I don't know what the deal was in Cleveland, but Beckham is still top 10 wide out in the NFL. Like that boy catch with his hands better than anybody else in the league. So
Beckham had 9 receptions for 113 yards. He was balling.
Right. Well, he had 9 catches period in 2 years.
He was balling. Right at Cleveland. So how come Mayfield couldn't get the ball to him the way Stafford is now?
Well, everybody's looking at Baker like, really? Right. Like,
right. What's going on with you?
What's up, Baker? Like, you see this? So, you know, but Earl Henning is talking about the youngster at Wisconsin, the running back. I forget what his name is, Jalen or something like that.
Jalen Burger? Is it Jalen Burger?
The young boy, was he freshman, the red shirt freshman who came in and just balled out this year?
Man, he's a big kid too.
He is. I'm hoping that I hope he gets out of Wisconsin. And y'all gonna learn too, as we do this show. I hate the Badgers. I absolutely hate the Badgers. Like I really do. Like I don't care if they ever win another game in. It could be tiddlywinks, right? Like I hate the Badgers. Marquette, UWM. Like I'll cheer for UW Oshkosh. You know, I just can't stand them. I can't do the Badgers, man. I don't.
I got a few ex-players that's playing up in Madison right now, man.
Right. I don't care if my mama played up there.
Nowakowski, shout out to Sean Timmis. Shout out to Andrew Salimi.
Yeah, man. Shout out to your boys.
They're up there in Badgerland, man.
And you know what? A lot of black athletes go up there, and I ain't going to talk about, you know, sometimes it's, you know. And so, yeah, shout out to them. If it's young brothers up there, you know, I ain't going to talk down on them. I'm just saying.
Well, one young brother, the other two are of the Caucasian persuasion.
Okay. Well, you coach white people too.
I coach white people too, man. Great kids. Great kids.
Yeah. if you play football, yeah, go ahead. If you're an athlete, I just don't like. I just don't like it. I don't like the Badgers, so I cheer for them to lose and everything. But y'all get to hear that as the Big Black Sports Show roll along, and I'll explain my reasoning for it. I don't just hate nobody for nothing. If I hate you, it's a pretty good reason. Like I'm one of them kind of dudes where I'm so easygoing that if I say I don't like you, you got to be a real fucked up person. Like, dude, what's wrong? What
you hate the Badgers?
It's got to do with the way they treat our city. It's got to do with the fact that there's a small population of minority students there. The fact that they've been caught up several times putting misinformation out via their undergraduate catalog or whatever marketing materials where they take and transpose black kids on the cover to try to insinuate that there's diversity there.
I remember that.
And if you got to do that, if you have to do that, then I think you got a bigger problem than you actually know what to do with. If that's what you got to do, you got to take Photoshop black kids in a football game, right? And this is what they've done. So, and that in addition to just being, like I said, 50,000 students and you're 3 to 5% minority. Like, come on, you don't really represent. Well, Wisconsin itself as a state is 86% white, so I guess the school does really represent. I just think it's a shame to me when I see institutions like this that are historically run and just inhabited by white people, like universities and businesses and stuff, and they still are the same way. Like after hundreds of years, we still ain't cracked the code to be able to make more moves and get more leeway into how things work. Put it like that.
Right.
So yeah, I don't like them. But yeah, back to the Super Bowl. I'm gonna make my prediction right now for the Super Bowl. I believe, like I said, the Rams will beat the Bengals because I think that the Bengals are gonna have a very hard time with the Rams up front.
Yep.
Right. And I believe the Rams can block the Bengals, but I don't think that the Bengals can block that front. Man, they got a ridiculous defense up front. So
that is crazy. That Rams front is too crazy.
Yeah, so I'm going with the Rams. Stafford gonna get him one. He stayed in Detroit long enough. He gonna get him one.
I agree. My Super Bowl prediction is the Rams, and I'm gonna give you a number. I'm gonna go 27-13.
Ooh, you trying to hit some spread? You trying to hit the spread out?
Rams 27-13.
Oh man, now you making me pick a score. Damn. Yep. I'm gonna say Rams 35-27. Somewhere like that. I think it's somewhere in between there.
That's a nice high scoring game right there.
Yeah, because I don't think you can keep Burrow. I don't think you can keep Cincinnati out of the end zone. I don't think the Rams, because even with that heat, Burrow's gone. Man, the boy got an arm and he's accurate and he's very smart. And he got some good receivers.
From Sunday, both offenses kind of struggle at times. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, like we were just talking about Cincinnati's defense, man, Rams defense.
Yeah, once again, styles make fights. Styles make fights. I think that the Bengals know that they got to get the ball out of Burrow's hand. So you're gonna see some quick passes, quick hitters, right? They're gonna have to play an upbeat game.
And they're gonna have to back for it. They got Mixon.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think you got to run them. I think you got to run a lot of plays so they don't have time to get breathers. Because if you running like that, now they can sub in and they can rest linemen and rotate. I think the only way to beat Aaron Donald and all those guys is to just run them ragged, like high pace offense the whole game, no huddle. RPO. I think you just gotta spread them and go. This is shit that's gonna get Burrow killed.
Well, one thing I noticed Sunday was that all of the teams were just running the shit out of the screens, halfback screens, wide receiver screens. We're gonna see a lot of that Super Bowl Sunday. I think we're gonna see a lot of screens. You're gonna see a lot of short passes. Especially with Chase because they try to get him the ball any way they can.
Yeah, I think you nullify one. I know Cincinnati's going to say, okay, what am I going to do with Aaron Donald? What am I going to do with this? I'm going to run the ball right at him. That's what I'm going to do because they want to pass rush.
Yep.
Okay, y'all want to pass rush? Y'all want to get upfield? I'm gonna run misdirection and I'm gonna run delayed draws and handoffs and screens right up under you, and I'm gonna let you run upfield all game. And I'm gonna run I'm gonna run right at you. So
see the problem with this is why I'm talking about experience. The Rams have two interchangeable pieces. You can move Aaron Donald all up and down that line. You can Von Miller. You can move him up and down the line. You can put him anywhere in the linebacker core.
right.
So it's like, hey Joe, you're gonna be paying attention out there where those guys are at.
Well, Jamar Chase is not the only good receiver for Cincinnati, because I forget they got two other young boys.
Higgins is good.
Yeah, Higgins, and then there's another one. I forget his name. You got me on the names tonight. But then they got a pretty good tight end as well. So, and he uses everybody. So, because Mixon will catch it out the backfield. So, it's going to be a good game, man. It's going to be a good game if you can, right. And I got to swallow my pride and watch it, because it's still,
I won't be as enthusiastic about it, because it's not the Packers, but hey, I'm still going to watch it.
Yeah, man. And for all you Bucks fans, we got some Bucks stuff coming up. Football has to dominate the conversation. But as we move along because I'm looking at the Bucks now, and I always say that the NBA season is so damn long. It's like 9 million games, right? Like, so I'm like, you start talking about it right now, it ain't by the end of the season and the playoffs and all that is gonna be like totally different teams. Like, well, they just rebounded after the All-Star break and won 50 games,
right.
Like, and it's gonna be somebody who started damn near undefeated. And it's like, damn, they lost 30 in a row at one point. So
it's like it's 2 seasons in one.
Yeah.
82 game schedule.
so I'm looking at my Bucks, my Milwaukee Bucks, and I'm seeing the Bucks are tied right now. They're like fifth or sixth in the East. But the crazy thing is they're only 1.5 game out of first place. So this is how deadlocked the East is. That all these teams, one Philly, Milwaukee, Chicago,
Brooklyn,
all of them. They're all like 1 through 5, and so they all like 1.5, 1 game out of first place. So I didn't, the Bucks have struggled at some point. I feel like they've been a little inconsistent. I don't want to overanalyze right now. And I'm not really a hooper guy, so we're gonna have a hooper guy in here sooner or later who's gonna talk some in depth, because I'm, but I've watched the whole NBA because I love the NBA's athletes. At the level of athletes they have is crazy.
Yeah,
but
the Bucks definitely had a bad weekend. They handed to them all weekend. Denver just handed their asses to them. I think they just lost to Detroit. This team isn't as loaded as people think they are. I don't know where that comes from that they're loaded. Well, besides Drew, besides Middleton, okay, we got a big three. But coming off the bench, and I love Portis. But man, the rest of the team is interchangeable.
Okay. So, but you have your big three, which is what it's supposed to be about. So you have Giannis, you have Middleton, and you have Holiday. That's your core, right? Core. You still have that. Now, there's been some inconsistency there from injury and COVID and stuff like that, so they ain't really. And then by missing, I don't think people realize how much Brook Lopez meant to the Bucks.
We mentioned him a lot,
right? So just because you haven't had yet. And that whole thing with DeMarcus Cousins I thought it was going to be cool, but I guess money-wise or business-wise, it just wasn't something that was practical. So, but I'm saying that right now I see they're really inconsistent. And like they'll come out and beat a great team. They came out, they beat Brooklyn. They'll come out, they'll beat, they beat Chicago. I mean, it was a decimated team, but they won. So, but then they'll lose to some scrubs. So, right. I don't know. People saying, "Oh, they're gonna win it again." I don't know. We're getting close to this trade deadline, and I kind of feel like what you said might have some weight. That the rest of that team being interchangeable, like obviously they have a bunch of guys that they could actually put together and get a trade for somebody for, And people saying, well, Brook will be back, but I mean, even if he come back, he's not going to be himself.
Exactly.
So I think you got to get I think you got to go get a younger big man,
right?
A more dynamic scorer. You say we don't need another big man. I think you do. You know what I mean? Because that big three is all 6'6+, right?
Right.
So you add another piece of size. Now I'm one of them dudes who believe bigger is better.
But like Bobby Portis is really balling this year.
He is.
You know,
Portis is good.
Center power forward. I would, when Lopez comes back, I would continue to start Portis, bring Lopez off the bench. But I think our biggest problem is shooting guard. We need a shooter, man, and we don't. I mean, Grayson Allen that's starting that shooting guard. DiVincenzo, we was going to trade his ass last year. You know, so we need like a Bradley Beal. We need somebody wet. You know what I'm saying? Somebody that when they double team Giannis, because Giannis is the best passing big man in the league. Giannis is a fucking freak of nature. The handles on him for 7 feet, the way he handles the ball, man.
We know.
Double teams, dude. He eats them up. So
Giannis.
So we need somebody that can shoot that rock. And right now, we just don't have the pieces. Wes Matthews, Wisconsin, Madison born. Shout out to him, but shit.
415 Big K. 415 Big K. If you want to call, you can call. The number's on the screen. He asked, "Can we call?" Yeah. See.
Call him in and argue with me. What's going on? It's the Big Black Sports Show.
Now, I think Giannis is not a, TR should say, what about George Hill? I mean, George Hill is serviceable, but once again, I feel like he's, I don't know if they'd hesitate to get rid of him again because they got rid of him last time. I think he brings something to the locker room.
Well, he's a backup point guard. He's
the backup point guard. So
give us what he's going to give us. He's not better than Drew.
Right, but I'm thinking about trade-wise. I don't think that they'd be willing to part with him because he is the backup point guard. So, and we know he ain't better than Drew, right? So, right. So, I mean, okay. So that's what I'm saying. This team still, there's a lot of question marks, but there was question marks at this point last season as well. It's because, at the break last year for the All-Star game, the Bucks weren't in like first place. They was in like third or something.
Right.
Then they just came out the gate after, and just went. So
see, my issue is this though. What happens if we face a totally healthy Nets team? What happens if we face somehow Kyrie is playing every game of the playoffs instead of away games? What if Harden is healthy? And shit, what if Durant is healthy?
Can that happen though?
It's possible.
I don't know. I don't know because sports is all sports, especially with like long seasons, is a war of attrition. So is it almost impossible to have all those pieces fully healthy going at their peak by the end of the season?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. It's everybody's going to be deemed up and injured by the end of the season.
Right.
22 games, but. If those, that's what I'm saying. If those three guys are healthy, it's going to be very hard to beat them with what we have now.
But if the Bucks are fully healthy, it's going to be very hard to beat. Let's not. I mean, they still defending champs, right?
Right.
Minus PJ Tucker once again, who I feel like will eventually that piece will somebody if it's not PJ himself coming back, I feel like. They got to do some. Yeah, well, you got to have that defensive part because what he could do, a lot of players can't do. Like he could get up on that wing and play some defense on another big who can shoot, like Durant or somebody like that.
Yep.
Yeah, big strong dude, man. So yeah, I feel like they're gonna make a move. I thought that's what the DeMarcus Cousins thing was. I thought that they was kind of saying, okay, since we lost Boogie or since we lost Lopez. We're going to bring Boogie in, and that'll be our big man, and we ain't got PJ Tucker either. So, but it didn't work out. I guess, by the way, it's contractually, I guess it just wasn't a good deal to make. So,
well, I wonder why they pulled the trigger on that in the first place, though. Why bring him in knowing that you were going to lose him, or there was a good chance of you losing him just weeks after bringing him in.
Well, he said he wanted to keep a roster spot just in case there's a move that has to be made before the trade deadline. So I'm thinking like when he says something like that, that make me say, okay, so basically he started evaluating things, saying, nah, you know what? We're gonna have to make a move. And if we sign this dude, we ain't gonna have this spot. We won't have this spot. So, it's a money move. It could either backfire or it could be a smart move if he makes a trade and brings a player in. So, but who's out there that he could possibly get?
Exactly. No free agents come to mind. Well, as far as trades,
right?
There's a few guys that I'd like to see. Okay. I know there's no way of us getting them. No, I know we can't trade for Ingram in New Orleans. I'd love to have Ingram.
At one point, I thought maybe Kemba Walker would be free, but I think he kind of bounced back with the Knicks a little bit. So I think he's back up and running, doing pretty good now.
I'd love to keep. I'd love to keep Chris at shooting guard and bring in the small forward, but man, we need a shooter. We need.
I see most people out there. I don't think we need a shooter. They all shooters. I think they need some interior defense. I mean, I'm watching them. I don't see a whole lot down when you come down the middle on the Bucks. I mean, unless Giannis standing there, then you probably get your shit done.
Well, see, that's the thing. Giannis, man, just once again, he's a fucking freak of nature. He's a two-way player. When he's in the game, he's dominating in the inside, in the middle.
Yeah, but you got to have more than him, though.
He's contesting everything that goes to the hoop. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, you ain't talking about the old NBA. You talking about the new NBA where fives pull up from the 80 feet. Like centers don't play with their backs to the basket no more in the NBA, and they everybody on the floor shoots the three. So you talking about if he come to the basket, but it's cats who gonna step back and shoot. Like KD would be like, all right, you got it down there. All right, I'm just gonna shoot from here all night, and I'm gonna make it. You got to be able to D them dudes up. So, I know Giannis is still Giannis that dude, man. What can you say about the freak?
Giannis is a freak, man.
But let's not Aaron Rodgers him though. Let's not let's not just have him here as great a player as he is in his prime and never put the pieces around him so that he can get, because we did it for a minute with Aaron. He got a Super Bowl, right? So I don't want this to turn into, okay, we got Giannis in his prime, and then we never could find the right pieces to put around him again. He should, by the time he leave Milwaukee, he should have 2 or 3 rings.
True.
At least. True. So
now's the time to do it. These next 2 or 3 years, you got to maximize it. And
true.
Here we are now at trade deadline, and we're trying to figure out what's going to be that next piece to get us past the 4 of the teams that are ahead of us right now. Why are we not going after Ben Simmons?
I don't think you need a Ben Simmons though. First of all, he's a basket case a little bit, ain't he? Ain't he like a prima donnas?
He's a scorer. Look, Kev, he's a deadly scorer. He can play 4 positions. Okay, yeah, he can't shoot. He needs to work on his free throws, but he can. But at 6'10", he can run the point just as well as Drew. He can't shoot as good as Drew outside, but he's Ben Simmons. I don't understand how come he's not picked up. How come no one is trying to pick him up?
Once again, I think he's kind of set the situation for himself where he's like a real prima donna. Allegedly, I don't know. I'm talking about this brother. I don't know this brother, so I don't know. You know what I mean?
Well, it
just
seems
based
on
what I see, right? Like in the media. So that's all I have to go on. But yeah, I mean, but the Bucks don't need somebody who can play all 5 positions because we got a big 3. We need somebody who can play their position, just one, maybe.
But wouldn't it be nice to have a guy that can score at all positions on your team?
You got one. You got Giannis. You don't need 2 of them dudes on the same team.
Why not? That would be man. If that was Ben Simmons coming to the Bucks, I can see
No,
that.
I don't know if it's enough basketballs.
Who we give up, I don't know, but I can see that.
I think they need a big man who can shoot. I think they need a big.
So okay, so
and defend. I think we need a defender, like an outstanding defender.
the
Oh,
big men that are capable of doing that, no one is going to let go.
oh, you don't know. Sometimes you fucking don't be happy and shit. You find out later, like I didn't even know you. And he'd be like, "Yeah, I told him this morning I'm no longer a member of your organization." He's like, "Damn, we can decide this dude." You'll never know what you know. And look, the NBA Negroes are just a little bit more progressive than the NFL Negroes. Theirs is still a pretty much player-driven league. I mean, because the players push the knee. Like, it's the same in the NFL, don't get me wrong. But in the NBA, they don't wear helmets. You can see their faces. They play indoors. You know, these dudes run around in shorts and tank top. You know what I mean? So they drive like apparel, shoes, drinks, whatever, just business. They driving the economy. So them dudes, if they say, nah, we ain't feeling that, people go to moving and shaking like, oh shit, what we gonna do? NFL owners is some good old boys, man. They own oil and shit. They better get them goddamn niggers. Tell them niggers they better get their ass in there and get ready for this game. You remember when Colin Kaepernick first kneeled and Jerry Jones really jumped out the gym at first. I wish one of mine would, goddamn it. They say, what you mean? Hey, what you mean? You're what? Somebody who works for me? He meant to say one of my niggas. He meant to say that shit. I know you did, Jerry. I know you did. Yeah, we're gonna have more Bucks news, man. We're gonna have a bunch of stuff, man. It's high school basketball season. I want to get some of these brothers in the community working with the youngsters, man. I want them to get on here with me, chop it up on some nights. I had Rick Bradley. We'll see if we can get him back. We got some other people. And a lot of these brothers is doing the AAU thing, and they coaching 7-on-7 football. I see the youth. Yeah. This is nice because we didn't have a lot of that stuff even when I started coaching.
That's exploding right now, 7 versus 7.
Yeah, they getting the youngsters. They getting them at a young age and teaching them the nuances of the position. It's like, you know, you ain't just out here running around. Learn how to run routes. Learn how to read coverage, you know, stuff like that.
The only thing is I'm learning that there are some kids that are just playing 7 versus 7. They're not even playing tackle football. 7 versus 7 is usually like a precursor to spring football, to spring practice.
Usually is, yeah.
But I mean, it's off the chain in Milwaukee right now. You know, as it is growing across the nation, and I'm learning that a lot of kids in Milwaukee, they're playing 7 versus 7 football, but they're not playing tackle.
Shout out to Jeremy Nimitz. I'm sure Jeremy got his hand in there. People know Jeremy been working with black kids in the city for 20 plus with football. Like
Nimitz, Prospect U.
Yeah, man. That's the latest name. When my son was with him, they was the junior generals, right? Like so. Yeah. Shout out to Nimitz, man.
Yeah, great youth football organization, Prospect U. Great coaches, great kids. I trained some of the kids there. It's a great program, man. And a lot of involved parents.
A lot of parents. Oh man, yeah. When my son played for him, we played half our games here and half in Chicago. So we were in the Chicago League. So we playing. And I didn't even know Pee Wee teams could be nationally ranked.
Yes.
And so we won the league. We went down there into Illinois. So it was So and most of those kids are at Catholic Memorial. Look, Corey, who run the ball over there right now. That was one of our backs. So,
Corey's good. Sophomore.
Corey Smith. Corey's real good.
That kid. It's a lot of kids that are coming up in the state right now that are making a name for themselves, man. But yeah, Corey's a special.
Oh yeah.
And I like what they're doing at Catholic Memorial, man. You know,
I don't see how you cannot. I don't see how you cannot.
You know, when a program can switch 3 divisions, and win a state championship in each division, man, you know you got something special there.
But I tell you what, and just since I'm the cynical black guy on the show, right? I'm the cynical black guy. How is it that they're able to achieve there what we can't achieve with our own kids here in the city. When you think about the system that those kids are in when you attend that school and just being in that football program, and there's a lot of minority kids who are going. I mean, like I said, the team that my son played for, a lot of the brothers from there went. They go there, right? Like so. Um, and so why is it that our kids will go over there and they can get that built for our kids, but we can't build that in the city?
Right. 2 words: resources, commitment.
Okay.
Resources and commitment. They have more resources, and they have a much more stern commitment from everybody, from the kids to the staff, to the coaching staff, to the parents. They have more of a commitment and more resources. They have more financial backing and more other types of support to help the program, become attractive to kids, to make them want to play. And yeah, man, that's basically what it is. There's other variables, but the main 2 things to me would be resources and commitment.
I would agree with you. I would agree with you. And I think that the socioeconomic factors that come into play when we talk about our kids, I'm saying our, because all of our kids. I ain't y'all kids. My son is out here too. On a socioeconomic level, yeah. There's because our kids don't have, in a lot of cases, some basic needs met that some of their children do. And I'm just, because I don't want to. You can't say, oh, every kid from the inner city, poor kid, ain't no father, or this or that, he ain't gonna make it. No, you can't say that because you don't know which one of these kids. So, but it's a shame that we haven't built the program that somebody here, with all the brothers here a lot of brothers I've talked to, they all have ideas about some great nonprofit and how they run it and how it should go, but it's never been done. Like we just like a central organization of coaches and people from here who say, no, we're going to make sure our sports get on the same level as theirs.
And Kev, when I speak of the commitment, the resources, man, that can be overcome. You can do all kinds of things. You can have fundraisers and things like that to financially support your program. But earning a commitment, getting a commitment and that trust from the kids to buy into the program, that's the most important thing. So you can't win football games when you only got a team of 15, 16 kids.
That's right.
You need numbers. And the way to attract numbers, your program has to be attractive. Okay. You know what I'm saying? And some coaches aren't willing to go that extra mile to make their programs attractive and to draw those kids in. Now, when you draw them in, you got to have a sustainable program to keep them drawn in. One thing I'm noticing, man, and I'll be quite honest with you. I've coached in the suburbs and I coached in the city, and I'm seeing when I get back to the city, we're coaching sandlot football. Our practices are like Pee Wee League football. You know what I'm saying? We're not organized like the other guys are. They're scripted. You know what I'm saying? Everything's ran like a D1 program. And that's not just one suburban school. That's all the suburban schools. They're all taking a page out of that chapter. So some of the more successful high school programs in the city, they have more structure than others.
And look, we ain't just banging on football either. We ain't just banging on city football, because basketball, Milwaukee don't dominate. I remember when Milwaukee City Conference schools was going to win the state. They was going to win state, or it was going to be at least two schools from the city up there.
Yeah, no question about it, just who was going to go.
Oh, my goodness. And now, no, not the case, because guess what? Those little white kids, they learn how to play half-court offense. They learn how to play half-court defense. So we're going to slow you down from all that running and shit, jumping all over us and shit, and doing backflips in the air. And what Martin say, going up in the air, pausing, and then coming down. So now they just run a system, and they all just play their role, and they run it, and they beat our teams when we get to the tournament.
And they're committed to the offseason. when football and basketball season is over, they go in off season mode. If they're not playing another sport, they're working on the sport that they want to play. You know what I'm saying? I remember some years ago, man, going to watch my nephew play basketball and talking to one of my guys who was there with his kids, and he was like, "Yeah, man, I keep my boy playing ball. He's in 4 leagues. This is our 3rd game today. We're going to another game after this." And I'm like, damn. Wow.
Right. That's overkill, though.
It's overkill. I'm like, but if the kid loves it that much.
Yeah, but as a parent, you still got it. Low management.
But this is how a lot of those kids are preparing. They're going full bore with it.
Oh, believe me, in the summer, I've done the AAU crawl with my son, in which we had tournaments out of town, and like you say, we got 5 games today. So you on a schedule all day long. This is what you're doing all weekend. So I get that. Yeah, like I said, I know some parents too who kids they play on 3 and 4 teams and they train and I
guess that's the norm now. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I guess,
Oh, that's basketball. If you want to play high school basketball, you have to almost play AA. I don't see no other way. If you don't play AAU, I don't see how you can play high school basketball in some form. Like the kids who don't play AAU ain't really like the serious, And even some of them kids don't even be that good. They just be on an AAU team. Mama done paid them fees.
Right.
And worked in the fundraiser. So you own the squad. So you travel all summer and just, do what you do and live a little hooper life. Yeah. It's a lot though. My son, yeah. Believe me, I done had some weekends where I was like, dude, I'm so tired of watching AAU basketball games. Like I'm,
Right.
So that's a grind. But yeah, man. I guess we got away from the original point, which is we really need to build something for our kids so that, because it'll do them a lot for self-esteem purposes to not go to the suburbs and get your ass handed to you.
Right.
The first weekend of the playoffs, to go in there with your hopes high, like, oh, we was undefeated in the city. We are number 4 seed. And you go and play the number 11 seed. And as them young folks say, you get scraped.
Get scraped. Get smacked. They putting their JV teams in before halftime. That's embarrassing, man. It's embarrassing. It's humbling,
man.
But it's up to us as coaches in the inner city to work harder to change that. And we got some athletes here. We got some athletes and we got some programs that just need some tweaking.
Man, I'm trying to get the big homie Mike G to come on here, man. I'm really trying to get Big Mike to come on here, man, because I think Mike can talk about sports and just the training and the preparation and what you got to do to be an athlete. I think he can speak to that. Like he got kids that he's trained that's in the NFL. I've been trying to get him on here, but my point was one time he told me I was complaining. We were at, I don't know, Washington or something situation where we couldn't get the kids to come into the weight room. We're there. So as a coaching staff, we're committed to it saying, okay, if y'all want to do this work, we're here. But couldn't get the kids, kids didn't want to commit to it. Just running, like, right? Why you running though? You ain't gotta run. I'm not gonna chase you, right?
Right.
So but I was talking to Mike one time and I was just saying, man, the off season is when you win football games. Like you don't win them during the season, you win them in the off season.
Exactly.
By the work that you do.
Yes.
And so, he looked at me, he said, man, well, you know what, Barnes? Sometimes it ain't about X's and O's, it's about Jimmy's and Joe's. When you don't got neither one of them, you're screwed. I said, all right, I got you, Mike. I got you. So we got to bring him on because that's a deep dive, that conversation about how to really improve city conference athletics and how to create situations in our city where our kids are being prepared better. Because it's embarrassing to me. Like I say, you hoop coaches can't laugh now because y'all been taking some trips up north. Going to these I done been in the gym where a little team of white dudes came in and shot the lights out on some dudes that was all 6'10", and they like, shit, what happened?
Right.
So, we just got to do something about it. I try to do solution-based radio, and I said it because I feel like it's something that we need to be doing about it. That's why I brought it up. That's why we had the conversations. I want to shout out everybody who's supporting us, man, with the Big Black Sports Show.
Yes, sir.
It's gonna get better. Trust me. As we move along, and I start really pouring into this thing, we got some guests and some interviews coming up that's gonna be real interesting, and some conversations about sports that I think brothers need to have. Tank, who you want to shout out, man?
Oh man, I guess I'll shout out the coaching staff, of course, at Marshall. My guys, we're gonna try to work to get another city conference championship this year and hopefully go further. But all the family and friends tune into the show. We're gonna try to get more viewership going on. But just want to give a shout out to everybody that's viewing this, man, and enjoy the talking sports tonight, bro.
Yeah, man, and I'll be on tomorrow night. We got Outlaw Radio tomorrow night. Yes, a lot going on in the city. A lot going on in the city. A lot to talk about. So my brother, me and myself and Kamara, hopefully Sister Courtney will be with us. But we're going to get it in tomorrow night, man. Like I say, I always have a good time doing this. I just want everybody, if you're doing something positive, man, keep pushing. Like, I think one of the biggest things is a lot of times we just don't push positivity enough. I really feel like that. I'm not trying to be corny and no shit like that. I'm really saying I feel like we latch on to things that are negative and we just let things that are positive just shoot past us. We don't latch on to them in the same way. So I feel like we can all play our role, and you just got to ask yourself what role you can play. Just don't be the type of person that's always complaining, but ain't never trying to get nothing done, man. Always hating and never congratulate.
Right.
That's the biggest thing that you could possibly do. So, I'll see y'all tomorrow night, and always have to leave y'all every time. Always have to leave you with the quote by the great scholar, William Dennis, a.k.a. Willie D. If your criticism of the black community outweighs your contribution, you're probably a coon. I will see y'all tomorrow night. Peace and love.
Peace.